Welcome back, Weathered Survivor, to another episode of Video Game World Tours, a series where I shine a spotlight on weird little spots you might have missed in games you love. Today, our travels take us to the world of Petrichor V and Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain 2 is an action roguelike, where you're constantly racing against the clock to find a teleporter to travel to the next stage. The game really wants you to keep moving at a rapid pace, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to slow it down and soak everything in. And I'm not going to be able to cover all the game's stages, unfortunately. There's like 22 stages in the game. We're just going to go through some of its most iconic. Titanic Plains is one of the first stages you can spawn on when starting a new run. Something you'll notice in a lot of environments of the game is that the developers really like to play with scale. Here we have these massive arches. It makes you wonder what they were in service of before it all seemingly crumbled away. While we don't know why they were built, we have some idea of what they do. Every item, monster, character, and yes, stage, has a log entry giving some lore flavor to that particular thing. In the log for Titanic Plains, you read an audio transcript of a scouting group setting up camp nearby. They were in the process of shoving large boulders off the cliff to make space for a comms relay, when out of nowhere, they hear a deep rumble. They notice one of the rings start to rise up and levitate. Then it starts to spin as it reaches a height of about 200 feet. It stops rising. Specks of dirt start to tumble in the air around the mystical ring, slowly forming a pebble, then a rock, then a boulder, one identical to what they just threw off the cliff. Despite forming right before their eyes, it was worn and had moss all over it, as if it were centuries old. The boulder drops to the ground and destroys their comms relay. Not long after, as if the invisible strings holding up the spinning ring were cut, it also falls to the ground. What a bizarre account, and it doesn't do much to shine a light on what these rings were for in the first place. That's the best kind of mystery, if you ask me. Let your mind wander and create your own backstory. Maybe these rings were created by some ancient worshippers of the planet, and they solely exist to keep it in this exact state. I don't know, your guess is as true as mine. Let's talk about the aesthetics of the stage. I love the colors they used here. Hopu Games really has a knack for picking a good color palette. The green grass, the brown dirt, and a hint of a grayish blue from the rings. It's very earthen. And I like how there's sections of the stage that feel different from each other. Over here, it's very grassy, and on the other side of the stage, it's very muddy. There's variety in such a small stage. Well, it only feels small when you're zooming around at the speed of light. That's something great about this game, but kind of out of the scope of this video. But kinda related, so I'll go over it briefly. This game isn't afraid to let you get overpowered. If you can pick up 50 of an item that lets you attack faster, you can burst down an enemy. And if you collect 50 of an item that gives you more movement speed when you sprint, you can, yeah. When you're going this fast, you can go places you normally couldn't, like up here, or even here. The developers will sometimes put little chests or interactables in these hard-to-get places as a reward for going beyond what's reasonable. And I like that they let you walk around in these seemingly out-of-bounds areas. Like, would you expect to be able to go up there in any other game? Even if you could get the height, surely there'd be an invisible wall, or a wall that teleports you back to the normal playable space. But no, you can walk up there. Of course, there's a limit at some point where you get teleported back, but there's just enough walkable space in areas like this to give the illusion you're not just in a stage you aren't allowed to leave. You're in an environment on an alien planet. Though I do wish you could explore these plains past the cliff here. There's a little barrier that teleports you back, but you can no-clip past it and walk around. I underestimated just how much space there was here looking at it from the playable area. I'm exploring around as I'm writing this, and I literally got lost in this out-of-bounds area. I can't tell where the stage is. This is a scale you won't get in any of the other stages in the game. For good reason, the game works pretty well with stages being the size they are, but the spectacle here really goes a long way. I wouldn't want to walk across it without 50 energy drinks though. Next is Abandoned Aqueduct, a pretty stark contrast to the stage we just looked at. This stage's set piece is the massive aqueduct built in this desert valley. Only it's not carrying water, it's carrying tar. Tar is in abundance in this stage, from the waterfall to these exploding pots, to this mystical tar force that damages you if you go too far outside of the stage's bounds. Why exactly is there so much tar on this stage? Another of this game's many mysteries. An eye-catching detail of Abandoned Aqueduct are these skeletons. They're reminiscent of the game's magma worms, but they aren't quite this big. Maybe these are the remnants of an ancient magma worm that was twice the size of a normal one. Something I don't know what to make of are these banners. Who put these here? In fact, is Petrichor V home to any sentient creatures? Is there some civilization on this planet that you never visit? Because every stage is devoid of any sentient, non-hostile life. You'll occasionally spot some peaceful animals out in the distance, and there's one guy who lives in another dimension or something, but there's no sign of the beings who put these banners up, or who built these aqueducts, or even the rings and titanic plains. The log for this stage recounts a person's final days as they become corrupted by the tar, but it's written as though they're someone not native to the planet, like the playable survivors or the people from the Titanic Plains log. The developers probably didn't feel obliged to answer questions like that, considering this is an action game, but they're still fun to think about. There is one more spot to visit in this stage. There's a passageway behind a gate with no obvious way to open it. There is a way, of course, but it isn't obvious. You have to find two buttons randomly placed throughout the stage. Both of these buttons have to be pressed at the same time for the gate to open. So either get yourself a friend in co-op, play as the captain and use a beacon, or just no-clip through the gate, and you're in. At the end of a long, winding tunnel, you find yourself in a wide-open cavern. And hey, we've seen these rings before. I'm curious if these have the same potential or purpose as the rings in Titanic Plains. Normally, 2 Elder Lemurians spawn in here, but if you're a filthy cheater like me and get in without pushing the buttons, they don't show up. It's a nice little desert cave when you're not getting bursted down by those guys. Rally Point Delta is where we're going next. It's home to a little camp set up by the survivors of the UES Contact Light, the ship that crashes at the beginning of the first Risk of Rain. By the time the UES Safe Travels comes by, the ship seen in the opening cutscene of Risk of Rain 2, everyone's long gone. This might not be the crash site of the Contact Light, but it seems like a lot was dropped here. There's shipping containers all over the place, and the survivors had enough resources to deploy and support this beacon. This was seemingly their last stand before getting overrun by the planet's denizens. It's a somber stage. Any signs of human life are gone from this place. All that remains is their constructions and the beasts that killed them. Nature has taken back this snowy mountain. There aren't a lot of exciting spots on this map, but you can scale the mountainside a bit if you have the mobility. What a lovely view. Abyssal Depths is a hellish map. Quite literally, it's located underground, beneath the surface of Petrichor V. The orange tint of the environment, combined with the open skybox past these rocks, makes you feel like you're deep in the pits of hell and that it stretches farther than you could ever imagine. It's very moody down here. There's these bowls dotted around with crystals in them, seemingly to light up the place. You can see larger clumps of these crystals dangling from these chains here. That's a neat little bit of world building. Also, there's these little plant things that kind of look like coral to me. Oh, and yet again, we're confronted with the question, who was here before us? Who built these doors? Who constructed these comically large chains? And what are these pillars remnants of? Were there structures down here at some point? Is it even worth asking questions like this anymore? I'll still probably point them out when I see them. I haven't mentioned it yet, but some stages actually have variations that the game chooses between when you load into them. Sometimes it's small changes, like this bridge being gone in Abandoned Aqueduct. But other times, well, remember Titanic Plains? Remember its layout? 50% of the time when the stage loads, it looks like this. The other 50% of the time, it looks like this. Completely different. That's the exception to the rule though. Titanic Plains and one other stage only have massive variations like that. Most of the time it's just world objects being present or absent. Or in the case of Abyssal Depths, this door can open. That's a weird bit of world design to me. Like yeah, it makes sense that this door in the Abyssal Depths might be open or closed depending on when you come by. But what does it mean that the bridge in Abandoned Aqueduct is sometimes gone? And even then, that's not a major change to the stage or anything. It's not like you're gaining access to a whole new area. You can just cross this gap a little easier occasionally. The optional pathway in Abyssal Depths has a lot more beef to it, but it's still kind of pointless. Through the door is a long passage that eventually loops back to the main room. I guess it does give a little variation to the massive open play space you likely spawned into. Ooh, here's some big deposits of the crystals we talked about before. Sky Meadow is the last place you visit before the final boss, and it's a real looker. The purple grass with the blue rocks, perfect color palette for an alien planet. This stage is just plain old weird. You have these stone structures sloping upwards and connecting in weird ways. Smaller rocks are stacked upon each other around the place. Even smaller rocks are floating around aimlessly. And of course, Petrichor V's very own Autobahn. These rocks have places to be, I better leave them. There's a small little detail I always notice on this stage, no matter how much I might not want to. Every time I'm on the lookout for loot, I always mistake these props for chests I can open. But they've already been opened. It seems like someone was here before you. Well, because of that, as well as this mess of technology. This raised platform with the two horns or whatever is presumably like every other teleporter you've seen up to this point. But it looks like someone was trying to control it. It's hard to say if they succeeded or not, because there's no sign of them anywhere. Hopefully they were able to get off this alien planet. On the topic of that, I just realized something about this game's planet. There's no unifying factor throughout all the environments that take place on Petrichor V. Normally in sci-fi properties, whole planets will look very samey. Like in Star Wars, how Tatooine is just desert. Or how planets in No Man's Sky will have a color scheme that gets used planet-wide. But here, with the planet in Risk of Rain 2, there's no connective tissue you can spot in every environment you visit. I guess that is its unifying factor in a way. It's uniform in that nothing is. You have a green sky on this stage, brown over here, purple here, it makes no sense. And I love it for that. It gives such a sense of wonder when you play this game for the first time and have no idea what to expect next. This stage is one of Risk of Rain 2's many curveballs. After making our way through all of Petrichor V, it's time we head off-planet, to the moon. Commencement is the game's final stage, and boy, this stage doesn't disappoint in terms of visuals. Once again, the game's scale leaves an impression on you. This stage's environment feels slightly bigger than it should be. Look at this slope. Doesn't it feel like it should be scaled down a good bit? And it takes a good while to walk to the other side of the room without movement-enhancing items. And there's nothing in here. Your eyes are drawn to the slope leading you out of here. But you know what? This is Video Game World Tours. We're going to the back of this room where nobody's been before. Isn't this great? There's absolutely nothing of interest back here. Oh, wait a second. I bet you can go on these ledges. This is a certified VGWT spot. After climbing the mountainous slope, you have to walk a bit more before reaching the light. I love this bit of stage design. The dark, empty hallway combined with the calm music gives you a bit of downtime. A moment of contemplation before the inevitable final fight. Oh my god, how have I not talked about this game's music? Look, I'm not one to really pay attention to a game's soundtrack. That's not a slight towards musicians as a whole or the art form, it's just one of the aspects of a video game that I pay the least attention to. But Chris Christodoulou, he stands out. If you have functioning ears, you must have noticed the music that I've been playing from the game's soundtrack in the background. Chris is the game's composer, and his music is just so iconic. but it just feels so inextricably tied to the game's aesthetic for me. He can effortlessly evoke a mood with any of his songs. And the song playing right now perfectly fits for this point of the game. You've made your journey all the way across Petrichor V, and you finally left the planet to take on the final threat. You slowly make your way down the tunnel towards the light, and then... Commencement isn't like the other stages. Rather than looking for a teleporter, you head to the pillar so you can charge up the jump pads to reach the boss arena. I'll be honest, I don't like playing this stage very much, but I can't deny it's a spectacle. The shattered pieces of the moon floating about, the towering arena home to the final boss, and Petrichor V looming over you the whole time. While it's not really a fun stage, it's a great set piece. Once you activate the pillars and take the jump pad, you come face to face with the King of Nothing, Mithrix. It's kind of sad that he was banished here to reign over, well, nothing. His arena is simplistic, yet beautiful, perfectly fitting of a place like this. That may be the final stage of the game, but we have one more place to visit. One of the game's many hidden realms. Welcome to A Moment Whole. This is a stage you won't spend more than a couple minutes in, but it's one of my favorite in the game. I love its pure simplicity. It reminds me of that trope in media where you're traveling some character's mind and there's just this white void with a couple objects dotted around. This is a very spiritual place. If you're in the mood for another tour, check out the one I did on Dark Souls. I really like how that video turned out. Subscribe, join the Discord, check me out on Patreon, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Video Game World Tours.